Anin Bojo, I'm Sherry Lawson, the host of Indigenous Voices. We're still here. My special guest today is Raven Sage, who describes herself as a jingle dress dancer. She's many more things than that, but we'll start there. Welcome, Raven. Nice to see ya.
Nice to see you too.
I hope we can do some talking in the next half hour about powwow, sort of the women's perspective. People are surprised to know that there's a lot of work that goes into putting on a powwow. It's just not like a festival where you run an ad, put up the sign, and start charging at the gate. There's a lot more things to go with it.
Okay.
Can you introduce yourself, first of all, please, in whichever way you think is proper?
Ani Bojo, my name is Raven Noganosh, Rama Indigenous, Makwa Dodem. So I just greeted myself in Anishinaabe. My name is Raven. I'm from Rama First Nation, and I am of the Bear Clan.
So Bear Clan makes you way different than me. I'm Loon Clan. What does that mean? What are those gifts you bring?
So bears are natural born healers. We are protectors, and we know when to gather for the season. We know when to harvest, and when it's time to honor those changes. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's think about powwow and pretend that anybody watching this knows nothing. They might have come to the powwow one time, but they really are starting from having no knowledge about it whatsoever. You're described in the community as a powwow baby. What does that mean?
A powwow baby is someone who has a family who do travel a lot to powwows from province to province, and who is born into traveling along with the family. So as an infant, I was everywhere. Growing up, I would be sleeping around my family drum group. As I grew a little older and started running around and being a bleacher kid, I would honestly have a helium balloon tied up to my wrist so my mother knew where I was. And back then it was safe to have your kids running around without parental supervision and, creating adventure, doing all sorts of things. So yeah, that was me.
What month is your birthday, Raven?
I am born in August. So
okay.
I was right in the center of it all. Yeah.
I think I actually have a picture of holding you, maybe 4 months old, at a September powwow. You were wrapped in a little wool blanket, and you were passed around the whole powwow grounds, because there you were, a few weeks old, and you were powwow baby.
Yep.
So my what I wanted to ask you about was, if you're a jingle dress dancer, how did that happen? How did that come about? How did that get chosen?
So ever since I could walk, I was a jingle dress dancer. I think the Cultural Heritage Department here in Rama First Nation has my very first jingle dress, and it's on display, I believe, still. So since then, I've just continued to be graced with having that knowledge as a jingle dress dancer, having strong aunties to help guide me through all of that, through the teachings and the lessons, and making sure that I respect myself and my gifts that I have, the materials that I have, and the teachings that I carry along with that jingle dress. So it's just kind of been a given for me to continue that. I have dipped into other categories and styles of dancing, but I've always come back to jingle dress dancing.
So what is the main focus of a jingle dress as a dancer? Why is that different from other categories?
The main focus and the gifts around having a jingle dress is, it's one of our first dances that is a healing dance. Back when powwows were beginning, and I'm talking like way before our time, was the country western Buffalo Bill shows, where he had a whole bunch, like a group of indigenous people, basically his slaves, back then, let's be real here. And so that's where the first powwow came from, was those western Buffalo Bill shows. So the jingle dress came after that, and it essentially was given to the Anishinaabe people for a sense of healing and prayer. The sound that the jingle make together, it's supposed to represent the leaves blowing in the wind. And so that is where the healing comes from. That is where that medicine is in those cones. They say when we're dancing, we have our tobacco in our hand, or we have our eagle fan in the other. And so when we're dancing out there, we're dancing both body, mind, and spirit, and we're sending those prayers off to Creator.
So you can't just go into any Walmart and buy a jingle dress. What was the process in having your jingle dress made?
So a lot of the dresses that are made are designed by yourself or myself or my mother. Some have visions of their jingle dresses, and they gather that material from like Fabricland or not Hobby Lobby. What is that?
That's okay.
The fabric stores, anyways, Lens Mills, and the cones that are made are recycled materials back then, and they're aluminum now. I just made it cut out of aluminum sheets, pressed and then curled up as cones. So the process of making one of these dresses is a labor of love, for sure, from yourself wanting that dress and your family members making sure that you're preparing that dress.
So if you go on the internet and Google jingle dress, it's going to tell you all kinds of stuff about what the truth is about jingle dresses, isn't it? Tell us about those things.
So some truth, some fairy tales, I suppose. There's a lot of misconceptions about where the jingle dress came from. In our teachings, and jingle dress dancers are told that it originated in Whitefish, Ontario, and by a woman. She was just a child then. Her name was Maggie White, and this dress was brought to her through a dream. And so Maggie was sick, and that dress was, tailored to fit her in such a fashion, so that she could wear it and dance with it. And it's said that when she was dancing, that dress had healed her. So when like the dresses that you see today are a more contemporary version of what those dresses were back then.
So the ones of today don't look exactly like the old ones. I would figure that they would have been plainer back then. Am I right?
Yes, for sure. So the original colors of those jingle dresses were like a solid red, or browns or greens or blacks, blues even. But now the material that we use is more it's more flashy sometimes, or it's kind of like a cross version. I have two dresses behind me, and one is my old style. And
Okay, let me stop you, Raven. Can you show us those? Pull one
Sure.
out and show us what you're talking about here.
so, oh,
It's noisy.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
There's my dress. And there's another one.
So which one is the older one?
Well, they're both fairly new. They're new to me. But the one I claim as old style is my yellow one, and that was I like. It's getting kind of personal, but I had a dream about my yellow one, and in that dream, I was at a powwow, and the grass was really tall and beautiful, and I was surrounded by my fellow jingle dress dancers, and I looked down and I seen this beautiful yellow material, and my sleeves were a nice dark navy blue. And so I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to find that material. So that one's my baby. That one's my favorite. Yep.
Okay, so for those outfits that you have there, did you do that sewing with your own dear little hands?
Oh no, I don't sew. Although I do hover around my mother when she's sewing. No, I have a seamstress that I go to, either my mother or my fellow girlfriends out in town here, and they help put together these jingle dresses. If I'm sweet on them enough, I will ask them to cone it for me, but I like coning my own dresses just so I can put that extra love into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the jingle dress is a woman's dress only, correct? You don't see men dancing in jingle dresses or jingle pants?
No. Although, it's 2021 and we have those two-spirited ones as well. And they are allowed to dance in such a style if they're given permission by the Jingle Dress Society. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us about other kinds of women dancers there would be at a powwow besides jingle dress?
Yeah, we have the women's traditional, and then there's subcategories in the women's traditional, and then there's women's fancy, which is also a subcategory of old style and contemporary. You see a lot of dancers going back to the original, like the original outfit of what we used to back when powwow started, and it was a lot more simplistic designs and effort put into those dresses.
All right. Thank you. So when people have come to a powwow for the first time, I've had people say to me, why are all the dancers in a special order there? They wait till everybody gets there until it's time to come into the arena. Can you talk a little bit about the order of grand entry?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So powwow originated like in the old Buffalo Bill Western shows, right? So back then we had those categories and they would come in and do their show and everything else. And now turning that negative into a positive, we have our honorary flags. We have our Eagle staff, that's always first. We have our veterans and we're always honoring our veteran elders and those fellow soldiers. And then we have our chiefs that come into line, and they're welcoming everybody into the territory, and acknowledging those eagle staffs that you see being carried in. That circle is supposed to represent the circle of life and that ever-flowing life that we have. And then we have, our tiny tots into like all the other dancers that come in. There is so many dancers that come pouring in from all angles and all parts of North America, and it's a very beautiful thing to witness. Yeah.
So in a powwow today, there are prizes for the very best dancers and drums. Am I right? Cash prizes.
Yeah. So there are two different powwows. There's your traditional powwows that host dancer specials, and those are still competitions. And then we have our competition powwows. That's more of an athletic sportsman type event. It's more familiar out in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and in the United States, where your cash prize is coming home for just one drum group is $120,000, $50,000. For here in Ontario, we're not that gracious, but it's still a fair amount of money that is given for your first prize down to your fifth place. Especially for your dancers. We're dancing pretty heavily for first, second, and third place monies. And again, dancers come from all over to compete and to be with friends and family that they haven't seen in forever. I'm always encouraging our community to open up their doors or their backyards for those who do come out to compete at our powwow. Just because
so you mean a place for them, a place for them to camp or have a bathroom with running water, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there can be big prize money. I know more than once you have been a judge at our powwow here in Rama. Tell us specifically what you're looking for when that's your job.
So specifically, when I have my judging cap on, I am looking for someone who has repetition in their steps, someone who has their outfit put together, the story that they tell while they're dancing, and just the way they present themselves when they line up as well, or when they're out there standing waiting for that song. Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean, the way they're presenting themselves, and that there must be, what you're telling us, very specific dance moves in different categories, correct?
Yeah. So I would kind of like compare it a little bit like a job interview. So when you're standing out there waiting for your song, you're not fidgeting, you're not making sure your hair is there while all you want to make sure that you're on point and that you're confident, and that when you're going out there, that good energy radiates off somebody when you know that they have that confidence, when you know that they're out there for a good reason, and that they brought their A game with them. So when they're dancing, that story could be a story of going out hunting, to being part of a war scene, gathering, harvesting, whatever actions that dancer has, they incorporate that into their dance. It's mostly like shown better with fancy shawl dancers or men's traditional dance and chicken dance. They're the storytellers. They're the real true storytellers out there. And a lot of the times I find myself laughing at, not at the men's traditional, but with them, because I know that their actions, they tell a really good story, and you can see the love that they have and the goodness that they have telling it. And it's just fun to watch.
I think there's probably two dances that would be my favorite. And one would be the men when they do the sneak 'em up. The sneak up. Tell us about that one.
So men's traditional, they have their feather caps and their war paint and their men's traditional bustles that is circulated with eagle feathers and everything. It's really beautiful. So the sneak up is a style of dance for men's traditional or men's grass or chicken. And the story that they show with the sneak up is that they're that either, they're going to war or they're trying to sneak up on, the animal that they're about to kill. And so the story and the songs that you see, they're kind of crouching over, sneaking up on that person or that animal. And then you can later see them like do that action of the kill, basically. And and the drums that go with it, like it's some of the guys get really theatrical with it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And you would have been one of those little dancers for my other favorite part of powwow, which is tiny tots. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the tiny tots. So I love my little tater tots. They're so cute. And that is their beginning of being powwow babies. That is us encouraging our children, our seventh generation, to continue that good life of powwow. So they are fully dressed in their outfits, ready to go and compete or ready to go and dance their style, either with their mommies or daddies or their aunties. And they are so cute in their little moccasins and their little outfits. Oh, geez, just too much cuteness for only like a 2-minute song, I swear. Yeah.
And I know that in Rama as well, because they're so little and they're just starting out, they haven't had a lot of practice. And so they get a little gift at the end of the dance, right? They're not dancing for cash.
No.
They might be dancing for a bag of chips or some Smarties.
And that's where that first teaching starts, right? That you're dancing for your people. You're not just competing out there for money. You always have that thought that you're dancing for your family. You're dancing for that next generation. You're dancing for healing. And that's what our main focus is like all the time.
I've had several people ask me who've never been to a powwow before, especially from the neighboring town, that when we have our ads up all over town, our posters, that they're the most stolen posters in the entire season in the city of Aurelia, because there's such beautiful artwork on them. We always make them so beautiful. And also I've had many people ask me, am I allowed to come to that? I thought that was just something for your community. So give us your perspective on that.
Oh, do we have a couple more minutes? So, I've always went back and forth on that. Like we've shared before, I've been a powwow baby, and I've grown up with powwow all my life. And I don't think I've ever had a better opportunity to know and feel a real powwow until I went out west, where there was nobody except for powwow people at these events. And the people that were just tourists and spectators, they were the most knowledgeable and the most respectful people. They weren't grabbing at you, they weren't touching your outfit, they weren't trying to handle your feathers or your bustles. And if they were, somebody would get a scolding and you would be escorted out of the powwow. My perspective on it is, yes, it is for everybody, but there is a lot for us as Indigenous people to learn from ourselves in past and in, what we want powwow to look like in history or in future, and what we want to give to our people and what we want to give back. There's vendors that people can go to, and we encourage you to buy, a pair of earrings and necklace set. We encourage you to buy that piece of artwork. We encourage you to buy that blanket that you've been eyeing up for, the past hour. But we also encourage you to educate yourself on the type of beadwork that you're wearing, or that Indigenous print that you're bringing home with you. The way we want to make sure that you're respecting us, we want to just make sure that you're coming home with something good, and that you can come home with a good mind, that you're acknowledging that space, and that you've been able to educate yourself just a little bit more. I remember
Raven, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop you. I know we can talk all day, all night, and all into tomorrow. I think our viewers have been given a good little Reader's Digest version of powwow, and I know we can talk about this a long time. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Thank you so much for being my special guest today. You've been very helpful. Chimigwech.
Miigwech.